Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima and I'm here checking out Horizon Chase Turbo. Two things I need to tell you about before we get started on this. One is that I actually pirated this one because fat chance it ever comes digital, and I was gonna buy it physically, but I was sick at the time. So when it did finally come out on PlayAsia, I was so sick that I slept right through when it was available. By the time I actually got to my computer and opened up the tabs, both it and Luckslinger were entirely sold out. So, great. Didn't really have a choice as a result. I do apologize if you have ethics related to that sort of thing, but yeah, I just didn't have a choice on this one. And the second thing is that you'll notice this weird pixelization effect throughout the whole game. This is something that the game actually does, but due to the way that my Vita capture kit works, it just exacerbates the problem by a factor of like 2 or 3. It doesn't look anywhere near as bad on an actual Vita screen. It's just this capture kit that just can't handle it. I've tried fiddling with the settings, I've tried using different USB cables, I've tried using different USB ports. This is just how it comes up. There's nothing I can do about it, and I am really sorry about that. It's going to be distracting as hell for some of you, but just know that it is nowhere near this bad on an actual Vita. This is just how the Vita capture kit captures it. With that said, there are some options, but it's really not helped out by the fact that these loading screens are overly long for this sort of thing. And sometimes they freeze like that, and it makes you think that the game's about to crash, because good news, he says with no hint of trying to hide the sarcasm. This game's made on Unity. Hooray! We all know what that means, right? That means that the game handles like shit. Honestly, it does better than most Unity games, especially since this game is actually in 3D. It's got proper 3 dimensions going on, but it just can't handle a solid frame rate. Funnily enough, I actually had the on-screen display for my hacked Vita turned on up on the top left, and it said that this game tries to reach 50 frames a second, which is kind of funny because that's how old European standards used to work. But it can't get to it. It regularly sits in like the high 40s at most. But sometimes it'll just freeze or stutter or just drop in general, right? It's not great. It'd be fine if it could maintain a solid 50. Weird, but I'd understand it. Because it's meant to be a sort of like throwback to old school racing games of this kind. In this case, though, yeah, if you can't even hold 50, what the hell are you doing? Doesn't help that the game has these massive stutters from time to time. You just saw one there when the little snarky quote came up. You have the ability to turn those off. I recommend that you do, because they actually make the game stutter, which is just fucking odd. But then again, it's Unity on Vita. That's just what happens with Unity on Vita. It runs terribly all the fucking time. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. It just happens. Actually, to be fair, considering what seems to make this game stutter, I wonder if it's just some particular kinds of, like, graphical calls or what have you. Fuck off, you stupid goddamn AI car. I hate the AI in this game. It's awful, but we'll get to that later on. Because look, he constantly tries to get in front of you, like no matter what you do. And this is a common thing for every single fucking AI car in this game. And it is the most annoying thing in the universe, but we'll get to it. We'll talk about the basic driving first, but just so you get the idea, the more fuel you have at the end of a race, the more points you get. The points are used to unlock new races in the Grand Prix mode. it'll also unlock upgrade races, where you can go, and if you manage to come first, and only first, in those races, you will get an upgrade to every single car that you own. It's usually 2 different stats, like speed and acceleration, or acceleration and handling, or speed and nitro, something like that. That's the entirety of the progression in this game. That's all of it. Here are the different cars you can get. I've got 4. You get more as you get points. Although, strangely enough, the game kind of forgets to tell you you've unlocked a new car until, like, the race after you've unlocked it. It's weird. Anyway, we'll just go with the Infinity. And yeah, you get more cars by winning first place in every race. You also get it for doing the outside modes, which are the tournaments and the endurance mode, which are basically just the same racing. So now I get to talk about the racing. Now, I don't mean this in the literal sense, because it would be silly. This game does have, like, proper, whatchamacallits. This game does have proper, like, bumps and dips and what have you. But this game might have some of the flattest racing I think I've ever played. Now, what do I mean by that? By flat, I mean there's just nothing to it. There is so little in the way of proper handling, proper acceleration and braking maneuvers, proper anything to do with the quality of the racing in general is just kind of out the window on this one. There is so little that you actively need to learn in this game in order to succeed. So you've got your accelerate on the R and your brake on the L. If you are coming up to a turn that is too sharp, you simply need to let off the accelerator and then put back down on the accelerator when you come out of the turn. This is all you need to know to play Horizon Chase Turbo. More or less. The only thing that the game has up its sleeve in order to, like, actually make the interest of the racing slightly more difficult is to add tighter corners and areas where you go off-road and have a little bit more trouble accelerating. At least in the first 2 parts of the Grand Prix, which might not sound that bad, but the first 2 things in the Grand Prix are like 9 courses each. So I've seen 18 individual levels in this game, and none of them have been even remotely interesting. Because again, the game's driving mechanics are really simple. There's no drifting. There's no real consideration for the surface that you're on outside the fact that it doesn't help you accelerate as much. You do have nitrous, but there are so few places to use it that are like, yeah, there are so few ways you have to think about using your nitrous. Because all you need to do is wait for a long stretch of road that doesn't have a corner on it and press square. That's it. That's all you need to do. You'll use the nitrous and you're done, more or less. So as a result, the game's got nothing to learn. Nothing to really improve your skills on after a certain point. Nothing to really just challenge you outside of the concept of just holding the accelerate button and just going. Which makes things, let's just say, not interesting in the long run. There's just so little to keep you engaged, so little to actively improve on, that you just find yourself going through the motions over and over and over again. The level designs just aren't interesting because it really is just straights and corners. Sometimes you'll get like different environmental things going on around the outside, but they don't come into effect in the game at all. The only thing that really gets in your way are the AI vehicles. And the AI vehicles can go fuck themselves in no uncertain terms. Because holy shit, it's annoying. So get this. You do actually have the ability to get a boost start off the start line here, right? But if any of the AI cars moves even a little bit, you will bump into their ass and you will practically lose any sort of benefit you would have gotten out of the boost. So as a result, half the time, getting a boost start off the line might be entirely useless to you. And then they just play really aggressively, and it never works out in your favor. And this is one of the worst things about racing games, for me at least, is when the AI decides to run into you, you're generally the one that suffers. When you decide to run into the AI, you're generally the one that suffers. Because the collision mechanics just work like that. If they come up behind you and slowly just inch their way past you, or even quickly, because this game's got rubber banding AI like you wouldn't believe from time to time, it'll just knock you out of the way and just slow you down and leave you to pick up the pieces of what just happened. And as I said, the rubber banding can be absolutely insane. So you'll just be going along at top speed. And even in the fastest car that I've got available to me right now, top speed is only like 5 kilometers per hour faster than this guy. So there's really like no difference whatsoever. And even if I was going at full speed, some of these AI cars would just be able to swing around and go, screw you, I'm the leader now. Yeah, probably gonna need to get some fuel. God, this is actually the first race where this has actually been an issue. Now, where's the fucking fuel? There it was. So as a result of everything I just mentioned, the driving is genuinely just bloody awful in terms of having to face off against the AI. Just because they can just rubber band you. They can just go vroom around you with basically no recourse on your end. They can knock you out of the way and not suffer. And they even get some benefits that you don't. When you're driving on like grass or dirt or snow or what have you, just things that'll generally slow you down, they don't get a penalty for it. So they can just accelerate right past you with no recompense. And the AI just ends up being an absolute monster as a result, because it genuinely feels like sometimes there was nothing you could have done in order to actually win a race. Because one AI car is just constantly getting in front of you, preventing you from passing. Or one will just come up from behind you, hit you in the side, slow you down, and screw you over. Let's do an upgrade race, I suppose. There are, of course, things on the track that you do need to worry about. You've got tokens, and to get what the game calls a super trophy, you have to get all the tokens in one race and then come first. Which is not too hard in the grand scheme of things. But I feel like the game was just like... I feel like the game was just like, what's this new car like? Is it even worse? Yeah, it's even worse. How? Why? What's the point? Anyway. There are tokens littered around the track, but here's the problem. A lot of the time it feels really lazy. Because they had to do it for every single course in this game. And there's something like 80 courses. There's got to be something like that. And since there's so little variation as to how the tracks work, they start feeling really familiar. And sometimes the developers just give up and go, let's just put them all on one fucking line and make it really easy to get all of them. And they do. And they do. And as a result, it just holds absolutely no interest in me whatsoever. Same thing with the fuel. I haven't played a... Yeah, see, look, he just manages to magically catch up with me and pass me because he can maintain speed way better than I can here. He does appear to be boosting there. The prick. Lucky for you, I've got the same trick. I can't even see the boost on that one. He just got a massive flow of speed out of nowhere there. Like, look, I'm just... Ah, fuck me dry. So you need to come first in this race. And look, they're all just way out in front of me now. I can't do anything about this. At this point, I might as well restart, because I'm not going to be able to catch up. Look how far ahead he's gotten of me. It is possible to catch up because the AI does eventually decide to take pity on you sometimes. But sometimes it's just fighting a losing battle. And when I find myself needing to restart because of one mistake, or because the AI suddenly decided the rubber banding is perfectly okay, I just find myself thinking, what's the point of playing this? If it's going to be like nothing but luck factor thanks to the AI deciding to get in front of me, or if it's going to be just anything along those lines, really. Or even when the AI gets advantages that I don't. As a result, I just don't think Horizon Chase Turbo is that fun. Whether it be the boring courses, the lackluster driving, or the absolutely obnoxious AI from time to time. Like, see, clearly they were going way faster than me there, right? But they had to have let me have that one, right? It's just like, oh, he's too far, like, he's too far behind the leader now. Let's just slow down and let him catch up. It feels like that was what they were doing there. It's just weird. It doesn't make it even remotely satisfying to race these guys. Alright, so I get my upgrade, which is acceleration and nitro, nitro and steering, or fuel and acceleration. Guess I'll take the nitro and the steering. I don't think I've upgraded either of those yet. Do I have enough points to unlock the 4th Grand Prix yet? Because I might just jump to that. The scenery tends to be pretty similar. 2,400? Is that enough? No, 2,600. Oh well, let's just skip straight to Salvador. The one thing I do like about Horizon Chase Turbo, though, the music. It's actually pretty kick-ass. That's pretty much all I've got to say about it. It's got a real good soundtrack. I like listening to it. Shame it wasn't equipped to a better racing game. And it really doesn't look too bad. Not in the grand scheme of things, but when it eventually just narrows down to keep an eye on the track at all times, and you don't have much time to look at the what would you call them? Environmental things around the outside, you just find yourself thinking, I could care less about how the rest of the game looks. When these tracks are just so boring, it just doesn't make a difference to me. So why is it that only sometimes when those messages come up that the game stutters? But only sometimes. Also, I do kind of appreciate how they ripped off a bunch of, like, popular car models for all their 3D models in this game. But, you know. That's like calling Gran Turismo a good-looking game because the cars look right, you know? This game is apparently immensely popular and a lot of people like it, and I'm not sure why. There are so many better arcade races out there. Let's see if I can actually hit this full line of them. There we go. Now I just need to come first and I get the Super Trophy, but frankly, I could not care less. See, he's just like slowing down for me now. And away I go. I think this game has slipstreaming. I haven't actually looked in the manual to confirm it, but I have seen the effect happen a couple of times. And I do like how they do the what would you call it? The road effects here sometimes. Where sometimes it looks like it has a nice bit of speed going on. But sometimes the effects just kind of like even out in a way that makes it look like you're not moving at all. And it's bloody bizarre when it does happen. Because you'll see all the effects like going across on the bottom of the screen. And then they'll all just stop and they'll all just sit there like you've just hit the brakes and you've just stopped completely. And it looks bizarre. Game. There we go. I guess we'll go to the circus and we'll make that our last race because I've said pretty much everything I've got to say. There are tournaments that you unlock actually no, you unlock the tournaments at like the end of the second Grand Prix. No, not even that, like the start of the second Grand Prix. And it's just 4 races in a row. And you've got to be coming first pretty much every time to come first in the tournament. So, yeah, just come first every time or restart, otherwise nothing's going to happen. And again, you get to deal with the AI being a bit of a shit, so if they just get in your way constantly and you can't get past them, well, fuck you, you're done. Start the entire tournament over again. There is also an endurance race, but yeah, that's what I want to do, play this game even longer. Like, you can see how they've made just the varying strips of color for the road here to give you that little bit of speed. But again, sometimes it just evens out and it makes it look like you've stopped. And it's just so odd to me personally. Feels like that's something I would have fixed. He just slowly slings his way over like he's trying to be clever. Like, you're not getting in front of me, bitch. Even when it's possibly to his own detriment, because it is possible to knock cars off the road into a signpost and watch them go flipping behind you. It's quite difficult because, again, the physics don't work in your favor, so you have to put in a lot more effort. And generally, by the time you do it, you're going to have fallen behind. That's still kind of neat to do. Driving at full speed may not be a good idea in sharp turns. Just lift off the accelerator when you go in and get put back on it when you come out of the turn. That's genuinely like the one thing you need to know about driving in this game. And that's it. Yes, thank you for telling me I just unlocked South Africa if it wasn't bloody obvious. So yeah, Horizon Chase Turbo. Driving with no depth. Courses with no intrigue. AI that's a real pain in the ass. And just everything else around it is just eh. I feel sorry for the people who paid, what, $40 US for the physical version? Because I don't think you got a very good game out of it. This has been Blue Maxima. I'll see you all next time.